This is Eshaan Kalra reporting from Poetry Analysis and Explication News, or PAEN, and our author of the day is Dylan Thomas, and I'll hand it over to Sanjay Ghatti to get some background information on this author. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sanjay Ghatti, and we're going to learn about Dylan Thomas today. Dylan Thomas was a Welsh poet who in his later life acquired a reputation as a roistering, drunken, and doomed poet. Thomas was born in 1914 in the country of Wales. He left school at the age of 16, becoming a journalist. His radio recording for the BBC brought him to fame. Although he was a famous poet, he didn't earn much money and was pretty poor. 1950s, Thomas traveled to America where he eventually died due to a coma in 1950.
Thank you, Sanjay. Now we'll go on to two poems read by Dylan Thomas himself, The Fern Hill and Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. Thank you.
The theme of Fernhill is childhood. In this poem, Dylan Thomas writes about his childhood when everything was fresh and new, everything was green, golden, and bright. He gives it to us in a Welsh rural setting of wagons and apples and daisies and barley and light. A time and place where he felt like a king, as though people were there to serve and please him. Time was like a kind and doting grandfather, letting Thomas climb golden in the heydays of his eyes, in the golden days of youth. Heydays was the height of Thomas's youthful vigor, his youthful prime. Dylan Thomas uses religious symbolism to describe Fernhill. In line 30, the speaker says it was Adam and Maiden. Reference to Adam and Eve suggests innocence, as if the speaker is frolicking in Eden, or his landscape throughout the poem. Instead of the snake tempting him away of Eden, it was time that yanked him out of his childhood paradise. In lines 44 through 45, when Dylan Thomas says, "Time is leading children out of grace. Youth has been once again associated with innocence, and yet it's time, guilt or sin, that leads children out of youth." As the speaker felt like he was in Eden while he was young on the farm, he's beginning to realize that time has taken him away from there. Throughout the poem, Dylan Thomas's tone and mood can be a little hard to pin down. Earlier in the poem, he was speaking straightforward about how great life was back in the day. Later in the poem, his mood shifts while he gets a little more frustrated thinking about his great childhood. So our speaker seems to be straightforward, but his memories of youth swear from joy to sadness, thinking about how he becomes an adult. Unlike Do Not Go Gentle to the Good Night, this poem's tone differs throughout each stanza. Dylan Thomas was a poet who was known for his lyric poems. Lyric poetry is a form of poetry that expresses personal emotion or feelings. How does he accomplish this lyric poetry? Well, Dylan Thomas uses figurative language and imagery to describe his poems. Fernhill is a perfect example of Dylan Thomas's most famous lyric poems. Thomas uses the imagery of the farm, which represents the Garden of Eden. It was all shining, it was Adam and Maiden, so it must have been after the birth of the simple light in the first spinning place. The imagery, also with references to apples, apple boughs, apple, shows the Christian version of paradise. The poem also uses constant colors of green and golden, such as happy as the grass was green, I was green and carefree, the children green and golden, golden in the heydays of eyes. So Thomas uses colors to describe the farmland as a paradise close to the Garden of Eden. Now, after analyzing the magnificent poem Fernhill, we'll go back to Eshaan Kalra, who will analyze the poem Do Not Go Gentle Into the Good Night.
the explication and analysis of Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night. The theme of Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night is that old people shouldn't wait for their death and they should fight for every last bit of life they have. At this time, Thomas's dad was dying, and Thomas was trying to give hope to his dad to continue to live. He was trying to say, go against fate, live every moment you have. When looking at the line, do not go gently into this good night, one can see that one should take up the fight against death. The will to live should be strong and defiant. Death comes to us all the time, but one should fight for life and to experience all that one can. For the specific poetry subgenre, Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night is a typical villanelle with 5 3-line stanzas and 1 4-line stanza at the end. The rhyme scheme consists of ABA format, although the last stanza has a rhyme scheme of ABAA. Altogether, it consists of 6 different stanzas. The last line of each stanza has a repetition form of ABABAA. For the figurative language in Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night, in stanza 3, line 2, their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. This is personification because it's using a person's traits or a human's traits for frail deeds, and frail deeds cannot dance. Also in stanza 4, line 5, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. This is a simile because it's comparing 2 unlike things using like or as. Also, throughout the whole entire poem, it uses an extended metaphor when it says rage, rage against the dying of the light. And the dying of the light is death, and that's the extended metaphor throughout the whole entire poem. Also, it says do not go gentle into that good night, and this is ironic because it's actually a bad night because his father is dying. Do not go gentle into that good night is harsh but lyrical. But Thomas also uses harsh consonant sounds, often alliterated, to give the poem an explosive feel. He often omits soft endings such as words as gentle. And he also uses rage, rage, and curse and bless. This means that there are more stressed words in the poem, which adds feeling to a strong, intense rhythm. In the end, the differences between the 2 poems would be the tone and the mood. In Fern Hill, the mood was happy as he was discussing his childhood and his old days. But in Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night, the mood was gloomy and sad because he was discussing the death of his father. But he was also trying to give hope to his dying father. Although the poems may seem completely different from each other, both poems contain plenty of figurative language and symbolism, and they're both poems by the great Dylan Thomas. In the end, thank you for watching our video and continue to watch poetry analysis and explication news. Thank you.